India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis accorded ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan to hold talks with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate the 9th edition of Raisina Dialogue in the national capital today. Prime Minister of Greece will deliver the keynote address. US vetoes UN resolution that sought immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Washington says the Algerian proposed resolution would jeopardize talks to end the conflict. Pakistan's largest party strike deal on coalition government. Shehbaz Sharif to be coalition's candidate for prime ministership. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi welcomed his Greek counterpart Kyriakos Mitsotakis at Rashtrapati Bhavan in New Delhi today. The Greek Prime Minister, who is on a two-day visit to India, was accorded a ceremonial welcome at the forecourts of the venue. Prime Minister Mitsotakis will be the chief guest and keynote speaker at the 9th Raisina Dialogue 2024 in New Delhi. Kyriakos Mitsotakis, accompanied with his wife Maraba Grabowski-Mitsotakis, also laid a wreath at Rajghat and paid tribute to Mahatma Gandhi, father of the nation. India's Prime Minister Modi and his Greek counterpart are also scheduled to hold bilateral discussions today. From here, we take you live to Hyderabad House, where the Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis will be holding talks with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi. These are the visuals we're getting from Hyderabad House. Both the leaders will be engaging in bilateral talks, and we've seen how this is an important visit of the Greek Prime Minister. He is accompanied by a high-level delegation, a high-powered business delegation. He will be also visiting Mumbai before returning to Athens. The visiting dignitary will be the keynote speaker at Raisina Dialogue in the national capital. Also, this is the first visit by the head of the state of Greece to India after a gap of 15 years. In the visuals on our screens, we see Prime Minister Narendra Modi along with visiting dignitary Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis at Hyderabad House. Both the leaders will be engaging in bilateral talks, and this is part of the visiting dignitary's two-day state visit to India. Earlier in the day, we saw him receive a ceremonial welcome at Rashtrapati Bhavan. He also paid his tributes to Father of the Nation Mahatma Gandhi at Rajghat. So we'll keep you posted. The bilateral talks will begin, and we will get the details of the engagements of both the leaders. And also today, the Raisina Dialogue will be inaugurated, will be starting, and the visiting dignitary, the Greece Prime Minister, will be the keynote speaker there. Also, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as we told you, welcomed his Greek counterpart Kyriakos Mitsotakis at Rashtrapati Bhavan today morning. The Greek Prime Minister, who is on a two-day state visit to India, was accorded a ceremonial welcome at the forecourts of Rashtrapati Bhavan. Prime Minister Mitsotakis will be the chief guest and the keynote speaker at the 9th Raisina Dialogue in New Delhi. And just a while back, we saw the visiting dignitary, Greek Prime Minister and Indian Prime Minister engage in bilateral talks at Hyderabad House. Also earlier in the day, Mitsotakis, accompanied with his wife Maraba Grabowski-Mitsotakis, also laid a wreath at the Rajghat and paid tributes to Father of the Nation, Mahatma Gandhi. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Greek counterpart will be holding bilateral discussions, and just a while back we saw both of them at Hyderabad House. Now these discussions will focus on collaboration in the field of security, defense, shipping and maritime.
Well, it's a real privilege to be in India on an official state visit, reciprocating the visit of the Prime Minister to Greece a few months ago. For Greece, the strategic partnership between our two countries is of particular importance, and we will have the opportunity to discuss a wide range of topics, political consultations, strategic partnership, but also fostering our economic ties between our two economies. So it's a real privilege to be here, and I'm really looking forward to the discussions we will have with the Prime Minister.
India's External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, today called on the visiting Prime Minister of Greece, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, in New Delhi. In a social media post, Dr. S. Jaishankar said that he looked forward to strengthening the strategic partnership between the two nations. In a statement, the MES said that India-Greece relations have been elevated to strategic partnership during Prime Minister Modi's visit to Greece in August 2023. They are based on shared cultural values, commitment to foster economic growth, collaboration in the fields of security and defense, shipping, maritime, and are marked by convergence on regional and global issues. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the three-day Raisina Dialogue, India's flagship conference on geopolitics and geostrategy in the national capital today. It is being organized by the Ministry of External Affairs in collaboration with the Observer Research Foundation. Prime Minister of Greece will deliver the keynote address. The theme of the conference this year is Chaturanga, that is conflict, contest, cooperate and create. Chaturanga is an ancient Indian board game and it predates chess and is considered the first strategy board game ever invented. Meghna Dev gets us the details.
Arrivals have started in New Delhi for India's premier conference on geopolitics and geoeconomics, the Raisina Dialogue 2024. The Raisina Dialogue is being held in New Delhi from 21st to 23rd February and will address challenging issues facing the global community. With the theme Chaturanga, conflict, contest, cooperate, create, the conference will delve into issues under diverse sub-thematic pillars like war and peace, tech regulations, invest, innovate, and more.
I'm here to speak about our calling for this century.
And this year, under India's leadership of the G20, we're putting sustainable development at the center of the agenda.
We have moved to a new mindset where solutions to climate challenge become the drivers of a new economic age.
India has emerged as a powerful leader and policy maker.
At the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of Greece, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, is also paying a state visit to India from 21st to 22nd February 2024 and will be the chief guest and keynote speaker at the 9th Raisina Dialogue. Every year, leaders in politics, business, media and civil society converge in New Delhi to discuss the state of the world and explore opportunities for cooperation on a wide range of contemporary matters.
When a few nations set the agenda and expected others to fall in line, are over.
Hamas and the people who support Hamas are fully responsible for this appalling act of terror.
The health crisis during the pandemic, who could we call? And more importantly, who would answer?
The dialogue is structured as a multi-stakeholder, cross-sectoral discussion involving heads of state, cabinet ministers and local government officials who are joined by thought leaders from private sector, media and academia. The conference is hosted by the Observer Research Foundation in partnership with the Indian Ministry of External Affairs. Meghna Dev reports for DD India.
Let's get to international updates. The United States wielded its veto power once more at the Security Council on Tuesday, blocking a ceasefire resolution, asserting that the proposed resolution from Algeria could jeopardize the delicate negotiations in Cairo working towards a sustainable peace. Now, this move has garnered criticism from Council members, while Algeria has reaffirmed its commitment to advocating for an immediate ceasefire. DD India's correspondent Jody Jacobs provides details from the United Nations.
13 members voted in favor, the United Kingdom abstained, and the US vetoed the resolution, which means the document failed to be adopted. Linda Thomas-Greenfield, the US ambassador to the United Nations, said that her country vetoed the resolution over concerns that it would jeopardize talks between the US, Egypt, Israel and Qatar that seeks to broker a pause in the war and the release of hostages held by Hamas.
Proceeding with a vote today was wishful and irresponsible. And so while we cannot support a resolution that would put sensitive negotiations in jeopardy.
Several council members have criticized the United States' use of the veto, with China saying this sends the wrong message and pushes Gaza further into crisis at a time when Palestinians are struggling on the brink of death. Russia says Washington continues to provide Israel with a license to kill. Algeria, who drafted the resolution, has told the council members that it will not stop until the body shoulders its responsibility and imposes an immediate ceasefire. The Palestinian ambassador to the United Nations questioned when the Security Council would finally act to demand the ceasefire that the vast majority of the world wants to see, while Israel says calling for a ceasefire just further empowers Hamas. The United States has now proposed a separate resolution that calls for a temporary ceasefire.
There were a number of other issues with that resolution. Not recognize Israel's right to self-defense, which is a right that Israel has. And there were other issues with that particular resolutions. We think it should be reflected in a resolution, even a humanitarian resolution.
As well as opposing a major ground offensive by Israel in Rafah. Until now, Washington has been averse to use the word ceasefire in any of its UN action. A date for this vote is still to be determined. Meanwhile, the United Nations Secretary General has repeated his calls for a humanitarian ceasefire, with the body's aid agency UNRWA saying that the number of trucks entering Gaza remains well below its target of 500 per day, and it's battling to keep up with the humanitarian needs on the ground. Jody Jacobs at the United Nations in New York, reporting for DD India.
Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has stressed that Israel will not pay any price for the return of hostages in Gaza amid ongoing negotiations to secure their release. He vowed to continue the operations in Gaza against Hamas despite the global pressure.
There is considerable pressure in Israel at home and abroad to stop the war before we achieve all its goals, including a deal at any price to free the hostages. We very much want to achieve another release and we are prepared to go for that. But we are not prepared to pay any price. Certainly not the delusional price that Hamas is demanding of us, the meaning of which is defeat of the state of Israel.
Yemen's Houthi militants targeted an Israeli cargo ship, MSC Silva, in the Gulf of Aden with a number of missiles on Tuesday. Houthi military spokesman Yahya Sarriah said the group used drones to target a number of U.S. warships in the Red Sea and Arabian Sea, as well as sites in Eilat in southern Israel. Meanwhile, the Greek ship attacked in Red Sea by the Houthis arrived in the southern Yemeni port of Aden on Tuesday. Recently, shipping risks have escalated due to repeated drone and missile strikes in the Red Sea by Iran-aligned Houthis since November. The U.S. and British forces have responded with several strikes on Houthi facilities, but have so far failed to halt the attacks. French warships in Red Sea intercepted and destroyed 2 drones in attacks from Yemen. Video footage showed explosions from the commanding deck of French Navy frigate. According to the officials, during the night of February 19 to 20th, the French multi-mission frigates detected and destroyed drone attacks originating from Yemen in the patrol zones in the Gulf of Aden and the southern Red Sea. Russia's President Vladimir Putin has said that Russian troops will push further into Ukraine after the fall of Avdiivka. The town fell to Russia on Saturday, Putin's biggest battlefield victory since Russian forces captured the city of Bakhmut in May 2023. Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu said the Russian offensive was continuing and troops were moving westwards. Shoigu said Russian forces had taken control of the village of Krynki in Kherson region. Putin said the Ukrainian order to withdraw from the town had been announced after Ukrainian troops had already begun to flee in chaos. He said that all captured Ukrainian soldiers should be accorded their rights under International Convention on Prisoners. Putin told military to prepare future advances properly.
Regarding the overall situation in Avdiivka, this is definitely a significant success and I congratulate you. We certainly need to expand on this success. However, any expansion should be well prepared with the right personnel, hardware and ammunition.
Donald Trump's election campaign has reported that it had raised $8.8 million in January, according to a financial disclosure submitted to the Federal Election Commission. Trump is closing in on the Republican nomination to face President Joe Biden, a Democrat, in the November presidential election, though he has been trailing Biden in fundraising. Trump reported having $30 million in the bank at the end of January, down from $33 million at the end of December. While Biden's campaign is yet to file its own financial disclosure for January, the campaign reported having nearly $46 million in the bank at the end of last year. Pilots at Network Aviation, a subsidiary of Qantas Airways, has called off their 4-day strike plan from Thursday to enable evacuation flights if required due to the threat from ex-tropical cyclone Lincoln, a pilots' union said. Qantas, the country's flag carrier, and the union have been negotiating for 18 months with the pilots at Network Aviation, having voted down 3 deals, including an offer of a pay increase of more than 25%, with 3% annual hikes to follow. The pilots at Network Aviation made the decision after talks with Western Australia state government, the Australian Federation of Air Pilots said on Wednesday. Australian airline Qantas said on Wednesday that John Mullen will join the company board as chairman-elect from July 1st and replace its outgoing chair, Richard Goyder, ahead of the Australian flag carrier's annual general meeting in October. Mullen is currently the chairman at Treasury Wine Estate, as well as independent and non-executive chair at logistics firm Brambles. He also served on the board of Telstra for 15 years before retiring as chairman after the telecom major's annual meeting last October. The appointments, which came in 4 months after Qantas and Goyder would step down in late 2024, are a part of the airline's board renewal to restore trust among investors and fix its battered reputation. All right, from here we again get you more on the bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and visiting Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis at Hyderabad House. These are the visuals of the bilateral meeting. We know that in a statement, the MEA has talked of India-Greece relations having been elevated to strategic partnership during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Greece in August last year. Here we see the two leaders, and here we see the camaraderie between the two leaders that is being witnessed at Hyderabad House for the bilateral talks that are currently on between the two countries. The talks will be based on shared cultural values, in fact, commitment to foster economic growth, also collaboration in the field of security, defense, shipping, maritime, and also these are the prominent areas on which discussions will be held. And the relationship between the two countries is also marked by convergence on regional and global issues. We see this visit by the Greek Prime Minister is the first by the head of state of Greece to India in the last 15 years. This is in fact an important visit because the further upgrade in Delhi-Athens ties could in fact lead to full utilization of Greece's strategic location as a gateway to Europe for India. So here these are the visuals of the bilateral talks between the two leaders at Hyderabad House. The talks are currently on and we'll keep you updated. Up next, we're heading for a short break. You're watching DD India Live. Stay with us. After the break, we will get you more on how India sends relics of Lord Buddha to Thailand to be displayed for 26 days. Jasprit Bumrah rested ahead of the 4th IDFC First Bank Test against England. KL Rahul ruled out owing to quadriceps injury.
That serves you right. From politics to glamour, from sports to world affairs, with a fusion of aesthetics and substance. Introducing news in a new avatar. Experience the world through a new lens. Stay tuned to DD India for an exciting journey beyond borders.
Welcome back after the break. You're watching DD India Live. For the past 25 years, the world has celebrated International Mother Language Day. Now this year, the United Nations is highlighting the importance of multilingual education for inclusive learning and conservation of indigenous languages. Nigeria has introduced a policy permitting local language instruction in schools to enhance comprehension and preserve mother tongues. However, as correspondent Ashak Mangut reveals, there are challenges with policy implementation. Let's take a look.
Hausa is one of the 3 major languages in Nigeria. The teachers here say it's important for the students to learn the language.
We need to encourage our own native language. All the other languages we teach in school, like English and French, all these are foreign languages. We need to prioritize our own native languages as well.
The United Nations says 40% of the global population lacks access to education in the language they speak or understand. English is the official language in Nigeria, but more than 500 other languages are spoken in the West African country, according to the NGO Translators Without Borders.
But Igbo, Hausa and Yoruba are major tribes and languages spoken in the country, besides English. The government in 2022 introduced a policy that will allow schools to teach in local languages spoken in the communities the schools are located. It argued that the objective of the policy was to promote as well as enhance the cultivation and use of all Nigerian languages.
Education experts say the policy has been poorly implemented.
It's one thing to formulate this kind of policy, is essentially another thing to try to implement. It can actually be very problematic, because how do you enforce it? But the arguments that we have about 500 ethnic groups speaking different languages, don't you imagine that's going to be a very difficult task, trying, to get teachers in this multiplicity of languages to teach people different subjects in these different languages, how much resources do you have to commit to that kind of assignment,
Some specialist trainers argue the government needs to channel more resources and creative minds to the education sector to address those challenges.
We need a creative minister of education that can do it, because it means that if you tell me this is a boy in English, you must say it in multiple languages. So which means all the textbooks have to change. And we live in a digital time now. So we have to create softwares that can recognize languages.
Students' learning materials have already been translated into the 3 major languages in Nigeria. The government is also now working to train more teachers to pass on the knowledge in the native tongues. Ajak Mangut in Abuja, reporting for DD India.
All right, let's turn focus to Pakistan. Now, Pakistan's 2 major parties have finally reached an agreement to form a coalition government. Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz will be backed by Pakistan People's Party in a new administration, they jointly announced. In a joint news conference late on Tuesday night, Pakistan People's Party chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari announced that Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz President Shehbaz Sharif would be the coalition's candidate for prime ministership, and that the parties would push to form government as soon as possible. He added that his father, Asif Ali Zardari, will be the alliance's candidate for the country's presidentship.
Party or Muslim League Nawaz?
I can share with you that the Pakistan People's Party and the Muslim League Nawaz have enough numbers now, and God willing, now we'll be able to work on forming a government. Now Pakistan People's Party and Muslim League Nawaz are going to form a government. We are hoping that now, God willing, Shehbaz Sharif will once again become the Prime Minister of the country very soon. We and the entire nation are praying that this government should be successful and that we should be able to resolve our internal issues, our foreign issues, and the economic problems of every Pakistani with the help of Allah. God willing, our joint candidate for the presidency of Pakistan will be President Zardari.
Eminent jurist and senior advocate of India, Fali S. Nariman, passed away at the age of 95. The noted jurist was awarded Padma Bhushan in 1991 and Padma Vibhushan in 2007. The veteran advocate was also the president of the Bar Association from 1991 to 2010. Prime Minister Narendra Modi condoled the passing away of the legal doyen, saying he had devoted his life towards making justice accessible to common citizens. Prime Minister Narendra Modi expressed grief over the demise of Indian jurist and senior advocate Fali Nariman. In a social media post on X, Prime Minister shared, and I quote him, "Shri Fali Narimanji was among the most outstanding legal minds and intellectuals. He devoted his life to making justice accessible to common citizens. I am pained by his passing away. My thoughts are with his family and admirers. May his soul rest in peace." In a historic and momentous event, the revered relics of Lord Buddha, currently preserved at the Indian National Museum in New Delhi, are set to embark on a sacred journey to Thailand. This unprecedented exposition marks the first time that the holy relics of Lord Buddha, along with his disciples Arahata Sariputra and Arahata Maudgalayana, will be showcased together at an overseas location. Now, the relics will be displayed in 4 cities of Thailand, including Bangkok and Krabi, where people will pay their obeisance to the sacred remnants, and after it, the relics will be flown back to India on 19th of March. A 22-member delegation led by Bihar Governor Rajendra Vishwanath Arlekar will accompany the sacred relics from India to Thailand for a 26-day exposition. The move will further boost cultural and spiritual relations between the two countries. Let's get to updates from the world of sports now. BCCI on Tuesday confirmed Jasprit Bumrah's release from the Indian squad, including KL Rahul being ruled out for the 4th test against England. Vice-captain Jasprit Bumrah has been released from the squad for the IDFC First Bank test against England in Ranchi. Meanwhile, KL Rahul is ruled out of the 4th test. His participation in the final test match in Dharamsala is subject to fitness. Pacer Mukesh Kumar, who was released from the squad for the 3rd test in Rajkot, has joined the team in Ranchi and is likely to replace Bumrah, the highest wicket taker of the series with 17 scalps in the playing 11. The 4th test match between India and England will kickstart from Friday onwards. All right, that's it in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X and also Instagram. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Preeti Kaur signing off, and from all of us in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live.